Utah's governor's mansion has long been considered one of the most opulent governor's mansions in the country, and for good reason, but it wasn't always owned by the state of Utah. In fact, it was once the personal palace of a mining baron. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1862, Thomas Kearns was born in rural Ontario, Canada, to Irish immigrant parents. As a child, his family moved to a farm in Nebraska where he received only a basic education. But young Thomas hungered for more than farm life. At age 17, he set out westward, chasing boomtown fortunes. He tried his luck in the Black Hills of South Dakota during the gold rush and labored as a miner and freight hauler in Arizona, gaining gritty experience along the way. In 1883, at about 21 years old, he arrived at the silver mines in Utah Territory with little to his name but a strong work ethic and big dreams. Before long, he befriended David Keith, another ambitious miner. Together with a few partners, they leased a promising claim in Park City. In 1889, Kearns and Keith struck a rich vein of silver ore that became the famous Silver King Mine, a bonanza that made them millionaires while Kearns was still in his 20s. The Silver King Mine's success was immense. Within 15 years, it paid out over $10 million in dividends to its owners. Thomas Kearns had transformed himself from a pick-wielding laborer to one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Utah. Flush with mining wealth, Kearns expanded into other enterprises. He and David Keith acquired the Salt Lake Tribune newspaper in 1901, giving Kearns a prominent voice in Utah's political and social affairs. He also helped establish railroads such as the Los Angeles and Salt Lake Railroad and invested in banking and real estate. His influence grew such that in 1900 he set his sights on national politics. In a dramatic sequence, Kearns was elected to the United States Senate in early 1901. Notably, he was one of the few non-Mormon officials in a state dominated by Latter-day Saint leadership. Kearns was actually a devout Catholic. In Washington, Senator Kearns developed a friendship with President Roosevelt and earned respect for his expertise in mining law and his support of progressive causes like conservation and irrigation projects. However, Kearns' political ascent was not without conflict. When he failed to secure support for a second Senate term, he leveraged his newspaper to champion the newly formed American Party, a local anti-machine political party that opposed church intervention in politics. Under Kearns' ownership, the Tribune editorials relentlessly criticized LDS leaders' sway over government, at least for a few years. The American Party, with Tribune's support, even won control of Salt Lake City's municipal government in the early 1900s. While his public career had its highs and lows, his personal life provided him with stability. He married Jenny Judge in 1890, the niece of one of his early mining partners, John Judge. As Kearns' wealth grew, he set out to build a fitting residence for his family, a home that would reflect his journey from roughneck miner to refined magnate. The result was the spectacular mansion that still stands today on Salt Lake City's South Temple Street. We'll be exploring the mansion as it was when it was first built and decorated. The Kearns Mansion, completed in 1902, was the most grandiose home in Utah at the time. Thomas Kearns spared no expense in its creation, determined to fashion a Western palace on par with the mansions of America's Eastern elite. The mansion's very materials shouted luxury and global reach. The exterior was built of creamy oolitic limestone from Manta, Utah, a high-quality stone sometimes called oolite marble. Even the carriage house was given the same attention to detail with the same materials, though the resulting structure became more akin to the Beaux-Arts than to the Chateauesque. As we swing open the front door and step into the hall, we find the interior is every bit as sumptuous as the exterior. Across the tile mosaic floor, our eyes are first drawn to the fireplace with its upper and lower mantels supported by carved columns. Though, arguably, the most spectacular feature in this room is beyond the colonnade, that being the grand staircase with its carved wooden newel posts delicately traced in floral motifs, almost as if they had been wrapped in wooden vines. We'll see more of the staircase shortly, but for now let's begin exploring the public rooms. First we'll peer into the library, just taking a moment to fully absorb the room as is and appreciate the abundant natural light coming in through the tower's windows. The room is skirted in half-height bookcases, flowing seamlessly with the oversized wainscoting, and all sit below incredibly intricate plaster detailing on the cove ceiling. From here we make our way into the formal dining room, once again carrying the wainscoting in the same height and introducing grand features including built-ins. In fact, here we can see the built-in hutch, and beyond portieres, we can also see the entrance hall's fireplace aligned with the dining room. There's so many amazing rooms to see, but this is a good place to dive into the butler's pantry and see a bit of the behind the scenes. While guests would have never stepped foot in these places, we can imagine the family staff cooking every meal and waiting on the family hand and foot. But that's enough of that for now. Let's jump across the entrance hall to find the drawing room, dazzling visitors with glimmering gilded details. Turning to our side, we'll continue through the opening towards the rear of the house. This brings us to what the family called the Turkish room, furnished with Moroccan furniture and fully embracing the Moorish style, which was more commonly reserved for smoking rooms and gentlemen's parlors at the time. Speaking of gentlemen, the den was located in the basement where we can imagine Mr. Kearns retreating for some peace and quiet. Though, that might also have not been the case, as the family's bowling alley was located nearby. Now, as promised, we'll take a closer look at the grand staircase and begin making our way up to the next level. As we reach the second floor landing, the handrail bows out seamlessly, with the wooden balustrade below styled in an almost mock Gothic fashion. Just as on the first floor, there is a colonnade separating the second floor hall from the stair hall, and in the middle of it, an oculus through which we can peer down to the entrance hall. The first bedroom we'll explore up here is Mrs. Kearns, which is truly a luxurious suite of rooms for the time, including a boudoir and a full bathroom. Though indoor plumbing was becoming more common in this time period, the idea of having showers, tubs, and flushing toilets inside a house would have been peak luxury for the era. Kearns' life took a tragic turn in 1918. In October of that year, at age 56, he was struck by a reckless automobile on a downtown Salt Lake City street. Unfortunately, he had a stroke about a week later, and it was simply too much for him to physically bear. His sudden passing marked the end of an era. Utah lost a leading figure of its early statehood, and the mansion lost its master. By the mid-1930s, with her children settled elsewhere, Mrs. Kearns found the mansion far too large for one person and made a momentous decision. In February 1937, she donated the Kearns mansion to the state of Utah with a generous stipulation that it be used only as the official residence of Utah's governor. This gift was remarkable. Jenny was entrusting her family's grand home to the public so that it could serve as a people's house and continue to be filled with life and purpose. Utah's government gratefully accepted, and for the first time, the state acquired an official governor's mansion, which it remained for some time. Then from 1957 to 1977, it housed the Utah State Historical Society, serving as a library, museum, and offices dedicated to preserving Utah's history. By the late 1970s, public sentiment and leadership opinion began to favor bringing the governor back to the Kearns mansion. But disaster nearly struck in late 1993. On December 15th of that year, during Governor Mike Leavitt's tenure, a devastating fire broke out in the mansion. The blaze started with faulty electrical wiring on a Christmas tree in the main hall and quickly spread, engulfing large portions of the house. Fortunately, First Lady Jacqueline Leavitt and staff detected the fire early and called the Salt Lake City Fire Department. Despite quick action, much of the interior was charred or water damaged, and the ornate woodwork and furnishings suffered heavily. What followed was a determined effort to restore the mansion to its former glory. A long and painstaking restoration project began almost immediately. Thanks to this restoration, the Kearns mansion emerged from the ashes in better than ever condition. A true phoenix of Utah's architectural heritage, one that continues to live on as the governor's mansion. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about this mansion? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.